Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Tonight, we're traveling to Indonesia, specifically to a remote palm oil plantation in West Sumatra. In Indonesian folklore, there's a spirit called the Kuntilanak, the ghost of a woman who died during pregnancy or childbirth, unable to find peace. She appears as a beautiful woman in white with long black hair, and her presence is always announced by the sweet, sickening scent of Frangipani flowers, followed by a chilling laugh that echoes through the darkness. The story I'm about to share comes from a nurse who worked at a plantation clinic in 2019, and what she experienced there still haunts her today. Stick around until the end, because I'll explain the deeper cultural beliefs behind the Kuntilanak and why she continues to terrify Indonesia. Take you back to March 2019, to a sprawling palm oil plantation about 40 kilometers outside Padang, West Sumatra. Workers lived in company housing, simple concrete buildings with corrugated roofs. In the center of this isolated community stood a small medical clinic, staffed by one full-time nurse. Let's call her Sari. Sari was 27, fresh out of nursing school, and she needed the experience. The clinic was basic: 3 examination rooms, a small pharmacy, and a waiting area. Most days, she treated minor injuries and infections. The work was routine. The nights, however, were something else entirely. The Kuntilanak has been part of Indonesian folklore for centuries, rooted in the tragedy of maternal death. In traditional beliefs, a woman who dies during pregnancy or childbirth becomes trapped between worlds, her soul consumed by grief and rage. She appears near burial grounds, banana trees, and places where death occurred unexpectedly. The Frangipani scent that announces her presence is both warning and lure. Locals know that if you smell Frangipani flowers when none are nearby, you run. And if you hear laughter following the scent, you're already too late. Sari had heard the stories growing up, but she was educated, practical. She believed in science. That belief lasted exactly 3 weeks into her assignment. The first oddity happened on a Thursday night in late March. Sari was alone, catching up on patient files around 11:30 when she first smelled it. Sweet, floral, unmistakable. Frangipani. The scent was so strong it made her look up, expecting flowers someone had left behind. But there were no flowers. The windows were closed, the door locked. She followed the scent to the examination room at the end of the hall. It was strongest there, pooling in the air like invisible smoke. She checked the room. Empty, everything in place. She told herself someone must have walked past outside wearing perfume and returned to her desk. Comes 3 nights later. Sari was sterilizing equipment around midnight when the old radio began crackling with static. Then, through the static, she heard it. Laughter. Soft at first, almost musical. A woman's laugh playing beneath the white noise. The laughter grew louder, clearer, no longer buried, but coming through as if someone had hijacked the broadcast. It wasn't joyful. It was wrong, mocking, hollow. Sari switched off the radio. The laughter continued for 3 more seconds in the silent room before cutting off abruptly. Her hands were shaking. Spread among the plantation workers that the clinic was active again. One older worker, Pa Agus, approached Sari one morning and asked if she'd smelled anything strange. When she hesitated, he nodded slowly. "She's back. She comes every few years. Last nurse left after 2 months. Don't stay late," he warned. "And if you smell flowers, don't go looking." But Sari was stubborn, right? Just smells and sounds. That's what she told herself until the night she saw her. It was a Wednesday, 2 weeks after the radio incident. A worker came in just before closing with a deep gash on his forearm. By the time Sari finished the paperwork, it was past midnight. She was packing her bag when the lights flickered. Then the smell hit her. Frangipani, so overpowering she actually gagged. To see her breath misting despite the tropical heat. Then she heard footsteps. Soft, barefoot steps on the linoleum coming from the darkened hallway. Slow, deliberate, getting closer. "Hello?" Sari's voice came out as a whisper. "Clinic is closed." The footsteps stopped. Then, drifting down the hallway, came the laughter. That same hollow, mocking sound from the radio, but now real, reverberating off the walls. Sari forced herself to step out from behind the desk. Standing beneath the fluorescent light at the far end was a woman. She wore white, a long, flowing dress that moved despite the still air. Her hair hung down past her waist, black and glossy, obscuring her face as she stood with her head bowed. She was impossibly, unnaturally still. The woman slowly raised her head and lifted one pale hand to brush the hair away from her face. Sari never told anyone exactly what she saw beneath that hair, but whatever it was made her scream. The woman's mouth opened impossibly wide, and the laughter poured out, shrill, agonized, the sound of something in eternal pain. The lights went out completely. In the darkness, Sari heard the footsteps again, running now, coming straight toward her. Sari ran. She didn't remember grabbing her bag or unlocking the door. She crashed through the clinic entrance into the humid night, screaming for help. Behind her, the clinic lights blazed back on. Standing in the doorway, silhouetted against the light, was the woman in white, watching her flee. 3 workers came running. They found Sari, collapsed near the housing units, sobbing. When they looked back at the clinic, the lights were off again. Pa Agus and another worker went to check. They found the clinic locked from the inside, everything normal, except for one thing. In the hallway outside the examination room, scattered across the floor, were fresh Frangipani flowers. Dozens of them, their petals still wet, even though the nearest Frangipani tree was half a kilometer away. Sari quit the next morning. She took a bus back to Padang that same afternoon and never returned. She works at a hospital there now, but refuses night shifts, and she can't stand the smell of Frangipani. If she catches even the faintest whiff, she has to leave immediately. Her hands start shaking. Her breathing becomes shallow. She knows she met the Kuntilanak that night, and she knows she was lucky to escape. In Indonesian belief, spirits are tied to trauma. A woman who dies in childbirth experiences the ultimate tragedy, her life cut short, her maternal purpose unfulfilled. That anguish transforms into something that can't rest. The Kuntilanak is drawn to places where death occurred or to living pregnant women. The Frangipani flower, used in Indonesian funeral rites, becomes her calling card, a bridge between worlds. The laughter isn't joy, it's madness, the sound of a mind broken by grief. Could there be rational explanations? Could certainly. Sari was working alone in isolation with poor lighting. The scent could have been carried on wind. The laughter could have been interference. The figure could have been a shadow, exhaustion and suggestion combined. But what about the flowers? Fresh flowers inside a locked building, appearing in minutes? Sumatra wasn't the only place where the Kuntilanak appeared in 2019. About 800 kilometers east, in Jakarta's sprawling urban chaos, another encounter was unfolding. This time in a hospital maternity ward, the kind of place that should be safe. But the Kuntilanak doesn't care about cities or civilization. She goes where grief calls her. Densely where this occurred, we'll call it Bina Sehat Hospital, was a 7-story building in South Jakarta, catering to middle-class families. The maternity ward on the 4th floor was popular, delivering about 15 babies per week. Modern equipment, comfortable rooms, good reputation. Let's call our security guard Budi. He was 43 in 2019, married with 2 teenage children, and had worked at Bina Sehat for 6 years. Night shift suited him, quieter, better pay. His duties included patrolling all floors every 2 hours and monitoring CCTV feeds. The Kuntilanak connection to maternity is specific. She is what happens when pregnancy goes catastrophically wrong. Some traditions say she targets pregnant women out of jealousy. Others say she's drawn to maternity wards because that's where the boundary between life and death is thinnest. Hospitals can't protect against something that exists outside rational understanding. Budi had never experienced anything supernatural in 6 years, until April 13th, 2019. The first oddity occurred around 2:30 a.m. during his routine patrol. Halfway up the stairs between floors, he caught a scent that stopped him. Frangipani, strong and sweet, completely out of place in a hospital that smelled like disinfectant. He looked around, no flowers, no windows, no source. Weird, but not alarming. He made a mental note and continued upward. When he emerged onto the 4th floor, the scent was gone. Everything appeared normal. This same shift, Budi was reviewing CCTV footage. Camera 7, covering the 4th floor maternity corridor, showed something that made him lean closer. A figure walking down the hallway. A woman with long, dark hair, wearing white, moving slowly. Too smoothly, almost gliding. She appeared for 3 seconds before walking out of frame. Budi switched to camera 8, showing the nurse's station. The night nurse was there, alone, unaware. No sign of the woman. Budi called up. "Did someone just walk past?" The nurse sounded confused. "No? Everyone's asleep." He went back to the footage. There she was, clear as day. But she never appeared on camera 8. That didn't make sense. Budi decided to investigate personally. He took the elevator to 4. When the doors opened, the smell hit him again. Frangipani, even stronger, thick and cloying. The corridor lights seemed dimmer. He stepped out, checking room numbers. From room 407 came the sound of crying. Not a baby. A woman, sobbing softly. Budi knocked gently. "Hello? This is security." The crying stopped immediately. Silence. "Ma'am, are you okay?" No response. The door was locked. He went to get the nurse. "Room 407, he said urgently. "Someone's crying." The nurse looked at him strangely. 407? That room's empty. We moved the patient yesterday. No one's been in there since." She showed him the computer log. Empty. They went together, the nurse using her master key. The room was dark. She flipped the light. Empty, bed made, everything clean. But the frangipani smell was overwhelming. The nurse's face went pale. "Oh no, not again." Room 407 had a history. 5 years ago, a young woman died in that room from massive hemorrhage during delivery. The baby survived. The mother didn't. Ever since, patients reported seeing a woman with long black hair standing in corners at night. Some heard crying. The hospital avoided assigning it when possible. Budi's hands were shaking. 6 years, and no one had mentioned this to security. He was about to respond when every light on the 4th floor went out simultaneously. Total darkness except for dim green exit signs. The nurse grabbed his arm. And in that darkness, down the hallway, they both heard it. Laughter. Female laughter, soft and musical, then rising until it echoed off walls. Pure, unhinged madness. Emergency lighting kicked in after 10 seconds. The laughter cut off. Standing in the doorway of room 407 was a woman in a white gown. Long black hair hung down her back. Her face was turned away, tilted down as if looking at something in her arms. She was cradling something invisible, rocking gently. Budi screamed, a sound the nurse would never forget. The woman slowly turned her head toward them, still cradling the invisible infant. Her face, the nurse wouldn't describe it. Couldn't. She said only that it wasn't a face belonging to anything living. They ran, made it to the stairwell and down to the ground floor, bursting into the lobby, yelling for help. The hospital went into lockdown. Police came. Full sweep of the 4th floor. Every room, every space. Nothing. No intruder, no explanation. Room 407 was empty. 3 days later, Budi suffered a stroke. Just 43, no prior health issues, and he had a massive stroke at home. He survived, but lost function on his left side and most speech. Doctors called it unexplained. His wife said differently. In those 3 days, Budi barely slept. He'd wake screaming about a woman in white over his bed. He smelled Frangipani everywhere. The family brought in a dukun, a traditional healer, but before the cleansing finished, Budi collapsed. He's still alive, confined to a wheelchair, living with his sister. He can't speak clearly enough to tell his story. The hospital denies everything. The nurse transferred within 2 months and refuses to talk. Room 407 was gutted and renumbered, but staff still avoid it, and patients still complain about Frangipani and crying late at night. The Kuntilanak's appearance fits the folklore perfectly. A woman died there in childbirth, the exact trauma that creates this spirit. Her death was sudden, violent, the kind that traps a soul eternally. She wasn't buried improperly, but in Indonesian belief, that's not always enough. If trauma is overwhelming, the spirit can't move on. The Kuntilanak becomes tied to the place of death, searching for the baby she lost. The fact she appeared cradling an invisible infant is chilling. In many stories, the spirit carries a baby, sometimes real, sometimes nothing at all. She's trapped in the moment of denied motherhood, and anyone who witnesses this becomes marked. The Kuntilanak remembers their face, and she follows. What do you think happened? Stress and hallucination that triggered a medical crisis? Or did Budi encounter something so traumatic his body shut down from terror? Let us know in the comments below. We've covered rural and urban encounters, but there's a third story, perhaps the strangest. It happened in Malang, East Java, a university town. The victim was a 20-year-old student. And this case is different because sometimes the Kuntilanak doesn't kill. Sometimes she does something worse. She takes. The boarding house was called Kost Melati, a 2-story yellow house with red roof tiles. It housed 12 female students. The owner, Ibu Ratna, kept strict rules. No male visitors past 9 p.m., no noise after 10 p.m. Dewi had lived there since starting her psychology degree in 2017. By 2019, she was a third-year student, quiet but friendly. Dewi's room was on the second floor, small, with a single bed, wardrobe, desk, and one window facing a neighbor's banana trees. Banana trees in Indonesian folklore are significant. They're places the Kuntilanak favors, hiding among leaves during the day, appearing at night when wind makes them rustle. Before we continue, understand this aspect of Kuntilanak lore: possession or substitution. The Kuntilanak can take over, inhabit a living person, especially a young woman who's vulnerable, emotionally distressed, physically weak, mentally unstable. The spirit slips inside like wearing a coat. The person doesn't die immediately. They change. Personality shifts, behavior becomes erratic, and slowly, they're no longer themselves. It's slow-motion body theft, gradual erasure of identity. Dewi's friends noticed changes in late March 2019. She became quieter, more withdrawn. She stopped attending study groups. Her grades slipped. She slept odd hours, staying up all night, sleeping through morning classes. Her friend Fitri said Dewi seemed distant, like she was looking through you. Ibu Ratna mentioned smelling Frangipani around the house, particularly near Dewi's room. She thought a student was using new perfume and asked them to stop, but no one was. Fitri noticed it too. It was so strong, sometimes it made my eyes water, she said. I asked Dewi, but she just stared and didn't answer. The second oddity was laughter. Multiple students heard a woman laughing late at night, between midnight and 3 a.m. It seemed to come from outside, from the banana trees, but when they looked, nothing was there. Fitri heard it 3 times in 1 week. The laughter was soft, musical, then rising into something manic and wrong. In early April, Dewi stopped leaving her room. She'd come out only for the bathroom at odd hours, shuffling with head down, hair hanging over her face. She stopped attending classes. Fitri knocked repeatedly, worried. Sometimes Dewi would crack the door open. Fitri said what she saw terrified her. Dewi looked sick, waxy pale skin, dark circles, bloodless lips. And her eyes looked wrong, unfocused, like she was looking at something invisible over Fitri's shoulder. Are you okay? Do you need a doctor? Dewi just smiled, and Fitri said that smile was the worst part. Too wide, too knowing. I'm fine, Dewi said softly. Better than fine. I'm not alone anymore. Then she closed the door. Ibu Ratna finally intervened. On April 10th, she used her master key. The room was a mess. Clothes everywhere, garbage piling up, the smell of unwashed dishes, and something sweet and floral. Dewi sat cross-legged on her bed, staring at the window. She didn't acknowledge Ibu Ratna. Dewi, I'm calling your parents. You need help. Dewi turned her head slowly. No need. I'll be leaving soon anyway. Dewi's parents came from Surabaya the next day, horrified. Dewi barely recognized them. They tried to take her home, but she refused, becoming violent when they tried to move her. Her father said at one point, Dewi grabbed his arm with surprising strength and whispered, "She needs me here. I can't leave her." When asked who she was, Dewi just laughed. They brought in a dukun on April 12th, a traditional healer who specialized in spiritual disturbances. He took one look at Dewi's room, one breath of Frangipani scented air, and began chanting prayers. He told the family Dewi was being inhabited, that something was taking control. They needed cleansing immediately, or they'd lose her completely. The Dukun entered alone, closing the door. For 20 minutes, they heard chanting, then silence. Then a scream, the Dukun's voice, panicked, shouting for help. Dewi's father and Ibu Ratna burst in. The Dukun was on the floor, unconscious, ritual items scattered. The window facing the banana trees was open, curtains billowing. Dewi was gone. Simply gone, vanished. The window was second floor, 4 meters up, with no ledge. But Dewi was not there. Police searched everywhere. Security footage showed nothing. No one leaving Kost Melati that night. Dewi had simply ceased to exist. The Dukun, when conscious, was incoherent. He kept repeating, "She let her in, she invited her in," and "They're together now, walking together." He refused to return and left Malang the next day. 3 days after Dewi's disappearance, students reported seeing a woman in white walking among the banana trees, visible from second-floor windows. Long black hair, moving slowly, gliding. One student swore she saw 2 figures, 2 women, one leading the other deeper into the grove. But when they checked, the neighbor said no one had been there. Dewi was never found. She remains officially missing. Her parents still search years later. Police closed the investigation after 6 months. Dewi's room was permanently sealed. Students reported smelling Frangipani from behind that door, and sometimes they heard 2 women laughing softly in harmony, drifting up from the banana trees. Pedestrians Faishri transferred to a different university. She said she couldn't stay, couldn't sleep knowing Dewi was out there, or that something wearing Dewi's face was walking around. By 2021, Ibu Ratna closed the boarding house entirely. It stands empty now, windows dark, paint peeling. But locals say if you walk past at night, you can still hear laughter from the second floor and smell Frangipani. And if you look up at Dewi's window, you might see 2 silhouettes standing there, watching, waiting. This story embodies the Kuntilanak's most feared ability, slow possession. Spirits can inhabit the living if given an opening. Emotional distress, spiritual weakness, prolonged exposure. Once inside, the spirit gradually erases the original personality. It's subtle, a slow drowning where the victim doesn't realize they're being replaced until it's too late. And the voluntary disappearance is perhaps most chilling. What if Dewi went willingly? What if the Kuntilanak offered escape from loneliness or pain? What if they truly became companions, walking into darkness together? What do you think? Did Dewi suffer a breakdown, fleeing into the night? Or did something older than psychology claim her? Maybe Dewi's still out there, living a new life. Or maybe she's something else now, walking between worlds with the Kuntilanak who claimed her. What do you think happened? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more true ghost stories from across Asia. These 3 stories represent different facets of Kuntilanak legend. One victim escaped but was forever changed. One was destroyed, body and mind broken. One was taken, absorbed into the legend itself. The Kuntilanak doesn't follow patterns we can predict. She appears where tragedy occurred, drawn by grief, and what she does depends on forces we don't understand. Thank you for joining me through these encounters. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe. We have many more stories from across Asia. Until next time, stay safe and remember, if you smell Frangipani when none are near, don't go looking. Some mysteries are better left unsolved.